Hello, welcome back to the breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out for the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I have a ton of huge news to share with all of you in today's video. So, last night was a very active night for drone usage from both sides, whether it be from Ukraine or Russia. I think Ukraine fired upwards of 200, maybe more drones into Russian territory. Russia firing, confirming somewhere around 175 or more, striking Ukrainian cities. So we've got a lot of news to cover today in this video, and a very big update coming out from the Engels Airbase in Russia. You can see here on your screen, just this morning, Ukraine launches major drone swarm on Engels Airbase in Russia. The Russian cities of Saratov and Engels, home to a major military airbase for strategic bombers, were hit by the largest drone attack since Moscow started its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Okay, so the Engels airfield is located approximately about 800 kilometers from the border of Ukraine, near the city of Saratov in the Saratov region. We've talked about the Engels airfield many times. We had a massive explosion over here in a gigantic mushroom cloud, as it looks like maybe an X-101 missile storage depot was hit and exploded. So we're going to talk about that. I've got lots of videos coming out showing this huge mushroom cloud and this massive explosion over here. And also, reportedly, an oil depot may have been hit nearby. We don't have any reports of exactly what oil depot, but I do know of one of them over there. It's the Combinat Crystal Oil Depot, which reported just a couple months back, maybe back in November, December, I want to say, somewhere around there. We had this oil depot being hit multiple times in like 1 week. So it's possible that maybe Ukraine had targeted it again, and we know that that oil depot is used directly for the Engels airfield. So it's possible that maybe that's the target that was hit last night. And also reports that Tu-95MS and Tu-160 strategic bombers were also located on the airfield at the time of this explosion. And reportedly, it spread about 5 kilometers of debris everywhere after we had this mushroom cloud. And reportedly, maybe some bombers could have been destroyed over there. So that could be huge. We don't have confirmation yet, but maybe we'll get that later this week. Also, real quick, reports that Long Neptune may have been used. Okay, the long-range Neptune missile that Ukraine has just recently deployed onto the Tuapse oil refinery recently. It's possible that maybe that could have been used here in this strike on this oil depot, or storage depot, excuse me. So we're going to talk about that today also, and just numerous other things coming out from Ukraine. We had major hits in Ukraine last night. Also some information from the Belgorod region, as I reported to you guys, that Ukraine is opening up a new offensive over there. So let's go ahead and jump into this. We're going to hop on over here to X with Igor Sushko. Russia, Ukraine struck the Engels military airbase in Saratov regions. We've got a video we can show you guys here, about 47 seconds long. We might not show the sound completely the whole time, but I'll show it to you guys for a little bit. It's just people talking in their window as they see the explosion over here from the Engels military airfield. Take a look.
Вот это нихуя. Там что-то ёбнуло пиздец. Вот это нихуя. Там пизда.
All right, we'll go ahead and pause it there, guys. So this has got to be one of the biggest explosions inside of Russia that we've seen in quite a while. There was an ammo depot up in the, I think, the Tula region just a few months back. They were reported that was destroyed. There was another one like soon after, like 2 of them actually in the Tula region. And yeah, definitely the biggest explosion we've seen. At some point while this person's talking, you can hear that shockwave hit their building. I mean, look at the size of that explosion. That's got to be a massive warehouse that was hit, or storage facility there, with probably maybe even glide bombs. Who knows? Glide bombs could be stored over here also at the Engels Air Base. Now from Bricktop NAFO, before Ukraine hit the Engels Air Base, an Illusion 76 freight plane had landed, possibly delivering KH-101 cruise missiles. The explosion was so large it blew debris over 5 kilometers away, suggesting it hit a large stockpile of weapons, or including Russian Tu-95, Tu-160 bombers. Yeah, so reportedly there was an Illusion 76 that was landing over here at this airfield just prior to the attack also. So maybe this thing got hit and exploded also if it was carrying a bunch of these missiles inside of it, or maybe they were offloading them. These happened to blow up at the same time, but reportedly a major ammunition depot over here hit and completely destroyed. and that's why we had that huge mushroom cloud. Here's another report from Nexta. X-101 missile depot destroyed in Engels. Missiles were being prepared for an attack on Ukraine. Analysts noted that such depots typically store between 30 and 70 missiles after the strike. Debris were scattered within a 5-kilometer radius, increasing the likelihood of damage to aircraft stationed at the airfield. Preliminary reports indicate that 3 Tu-95MS and Tu-160 bombers were present at the base. The airfield itself is one of the key hubs for Russia's long-range aviation, and Tu-95MS bombers regularly take off from there to attack Ukraine, okay? So again, we've talked about Engels so many times. So here's the airbase right here, and just maybe, I don't know, probably 3 to 4 kilometers away, not too far away, maybe even closer. This is where the ammunition depot reportedly was located. You can see here, ammunition depot per wiki Mapia, I think is how you say that, or Mapia. And you can see also it's located close to a small town over here, or village. Lots of the village over here was damaged also right after this ammunition depot was hit. And you can see, considering it's so close to this airfield, very possible that a lot of this debris could have flown over here and damaged any of these strategic bombers that were on the runway. And reports were indicating that there was actually some of these bombers located on the airfield. I don't know how many, but quite a few, a handful at least, were located there at the time of this explosion. So we'll kind of go over some of those details here. Now for Max 24, Liudi strike drones visited Engels this morning. Okay, so we've got video footage of a Liudi drone. These are drones that have 1,000-kilometer range, and we've shown video footage of these before, but this was early this morning, one of the drones entering the area. Take a look.
Охуеть, блядь. Сейчас бах будет, блядь.
So here's some residents in the area just casually watching this thing fly over their house and entering into the Engels airbase to try to attack targets over there. If you notice, it's not being shot down. So a lot of these drones do make it into Russia. Now from the War Translated, the airfield in Engels is still on fire. There's still a fire. Explosions and secondary detonation of ammunition recorded there. Tu-95MS, Tu-22M3, and Tu-160 bombers are stationed there, along with warehouses containing FABs, FAB or CABs. So FABs are the glide bombs, CABs are guided aerial bombs and cruise missiles. Aircraft that attack Ukraine take off from there as well. Okay, so take a look at this. You have somebody driving on the road, and still a little while after this detonation occurred, we still had a fire breaking out over here. Take a look at this.
Взрывается что-то. Чё там? Ай? Роб, не слышу, что говоришь.
Ну что-то взрывается и отлетает, блядь, как...
Взрывается что-то.
All right, so during this video, after looking closely, you can kind of see some little flashes going up over here on top of the facility where it was detonating. You can see some little flashes of light, possibly indicating secondary explosions of other ammunition being stationed here that's detonating. So most likely this is some sort of missile warehouse or some sort of ammunition being destroyed over here. So here's another video from Ukraine battle map. Massive Ukrainian airstrike on an ammunition depot at Engels Airbase in Saratov, Russia, located 650 kilometers from the front line. Potentially a strike using a Ukrainian Neptune cruise missile, meaning it could be the furthest Ukrainian missile strike of the entire war. So yeah, if that happens to be true, this would definitely be the furthest Neptune missile being used into Russian territory. The longest one that we saw was the Tuapse oil refinery, and I forget how many kilometers that was. I want to say maybe it could have flown about 800, but if it were to fly directly over Crimea, it would have been much less than that. So let's go ahead and take a look at this video real quick. All right, so what a massive explosion that was. And you can see all that debris just constantly flying everywhere for literally 10, 20 seconds after the blast goes off. And something that I noticed is right in the beginning, before you hear that explosion, you don't hear a drone or anything like that. You just hear a massive explosion out of nowhere. So maybe it's possible that a Neptune missile was used to strike this place. So pretty crazy news coming out from there. Now from Oza Defender, significant damage to a village near Engels 2 Airbase in the Saratov Oblast of Western Russia, following today's explosion caused by a Ukrainian drone attack on munition storage sites at the base. In the video, smoke and secondary explosions can be seen and heard, emanating from the direction of Engels 2. Okay, so we've got a 50-second clip here of some of the residents walking through this village located not too far away from that ammunition depot, and you're going to slightly hear some little pop sounds in the background, possibly indicating secondary explosions still going off, and you can see the amount of damage to this village after this explosion occurred. Take a look. All right, we'll go ahead and pause it there, guys. So lots of damage to this village. We can see lots of windows being blown out, damage to the roofs over here, fences being torn down. I mean, this was an absolutely massive explosion coming from the Engels Air Base when this detonation occurred. So now more videos here for you, or pictures, from Max 24. In the Engels district of the Saratov region, a state of emergency was declared at the municipal level after an attack by Ukrainian drones. According to Astra, the governor called today's attack the most massive since the beginning of Russia's military invasion of Ukraine. Okay, so state of emergency being declared also due to how big this explosion was, and we had so many homes being damaged. Some reports also many citizens being evacuated from many areas because of how much damage there was to a lot of these villages nearby when this explosion went off. So very insane news. Now we'll move on to what happened inside of Ukraine last night. We had multiple cities being targeted heavily with drones. So this is from Max 24. I'm going to try my best to pronounce this, but I believe it's Kropyvnytsky, if I'm saying that's right. Over 30 explosions being reported in this town. I mean, it was getting absolutely hammered by Russian drones last night. Here's some pictures coming out from there. Lots of fires breaking out. Many homes being hit. Residential buildings just all across the city. This is actually in central Ukraine. And yeah, just major hits over here. We've got video footage coming out also from the Ukrainian Review. It says Kropyvnytsky. Okay, so we've got a 23-second clip, and you're going to hear lots of car alarms going off and just all these fires that broke out. Take a look at this. All right, so this is a pretty good-sized city in central Ukraine, and it's not really that close to the front line. I'm not sure why Russia would have just hammered this city. I don't know if there's any Ukrainian military presence here. I mean, like I said, it's pretty far from the front. But looks like Russia just went ahead and just hammered this city, hitting all these residential buildings with these drones. So pretty crazy story coming out from there. Now from Bliskovka, Russia attacked Sloviansk in the Donetsk region with strike drones and KABs, which are guided aerial bombs. Local media reports that UAVs contain shrapnel or metal fragments that fly apart when they explode. There are many injured civilians, the number of whom is being determined. Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region is also under enemy attack. In the last few hours, the occupiers have fired at least 20 guided aerial bombs, the KABs. Critical infrastructure has been damaged, and fires have broken out at civilian facilities. So yeah, Kupiansk being hit last night, Kharkiv in the Kharkiv region, Sloviansk in the Donetsk region. We talked about Sloviansk the other day. This city is struggling with power right now, as about half the city doesn't even have power due to an energy facility being hit. Just the other day, we talked about that. Take a look at this. All right, so very sad to see this, guys. I mean, look at the complete blackout here. Only a few buildings actually have power right now. And then we have a strike drone coming directly in. It looks like it hit a side of a building over here, maybe crashed in between some other buildings. So absolutely horrifying to see this, guys, what's happening to the Ukrainians over here. Many of these innocent civilians suffering. Now from Max 24, Russia stormed the border of Sumy region on ATVs, but AFU destroyed their groups, according to spokesman for the State Border Service, Demchenko. In recent weeks alone, 3 enemy DRGs have been neutralized in the north of the Sumy region. Okay, so we're still getting reports that the Russians are trying to storm over the border into the Sumy region, but Ukraine is apparently stopping a lot of them trying to cross over. And this is where they're coming from, the Kursk region, where Ukraine supposedly is still operating over there right now. We're hearing that they're carrying out operations, but at the moment, right now, we're seeing a lot of Russians trying to cross over the border into Sumy, as Ukraine, for the most part, has been pulling out of there. So now we got some updates from the Belgorod region from Max24. He put a post here from Telegram, and it says here, sources of the Cheka OGPU report that the Russian armed forces have been put on full combat alert along the entire border in the Belgorod region. Reserves have been pulled into positions and ammunition has been delivered, even in places where there have never been any clashes. There is continuous shelling from MLRS from the Ukrainian side. The skies above the main roads are full of FPV drones. UAVs of the Ukrainian armed forces are constantly encountered in the rear. In fact, they control the roads on Russian territory. As a result, there are many losses in vehicles. At night, the Ukrainian armed forces made a number of successful forays beyond the state border. Small groups on ATVs landed from the village of Ugrody, if I'm saying that right, to the village of Turia, both settlements in the Sumy region of Ukraine. From there, the outskirts of the village of Demidovka, Belgorod region. Apparently, the Ukrainian armed forces continue to concentrate around the Belgorod region. So yeah, it looks like Ukraine really is setting up for a major attack onto the Belgorod region. Probably going to try to open up a new offensive over there. As for the most part, we still are hearing some clashes on the border with Kursk and Sumy right now, but now it looks like the Ukrainians are going to try to push into Belgorod. So I've got more updates coming out from Belgorod now. From Liskovka, Ukrainian armed forces destroyed Russian command post in Belgorod region, the general staff reported. It is a command post of one of the units of the 3rd Motorized Rifle Division of the 20th Army of the Russian Federation. The elimination of a control point significantly reduces the ability of enemy units to operate effectively on the battlefield. Okay, so another major hit to a Russian command post, this time in the Belgorod region. Usually when we heard of these happening, it was up in the Kursk region when Ukraine was heavily fighting over there. We haven't heard of any command posts being hit in the Kursk region recently, but now in the Belgorod region, where Ukraine is starting to operate, we have reports of another destroyed Russian command post. Now from Visioner, Ukrainian forces have almost completely taken over the border village of Demidovka in Russia's Belgorod region. Okay, so some reports now that at least one village being taken over now, Demidovka, which was just being talked about on that Telegram post that we showed you guys. We were hearing that they were on the outskirts, but now Visioner's reporting they've completely taken over this village. So they are starting to enter in to the Belgorod region, which is Russian territory. So that's very big news. Now from Raging 545, it is being reported that Zelensky's office has confirmed that there is now a military operation by Ukrainian forces in the Belgorod region of Russia. Okay, so this was actually being reported yesterday afternoon. You can see here 1:10 p.m. on March 19th. So looks like there is an ongoing operation where Ukraine is trying to push into the Belgorod region right now. Okay, so we're probably going to be talking about Belgorod quite a lot here in the future. Let's see how far Ukraine can push into this region. Now from next talks between Russian and U.S. representatives to take place in Riyadh on March 24th. Okay, that's coming up in 4 days. And we're going to be seeing the U.S. and Russia holding some talks on more of these ceasefire talks with Ukraine. And that should be coming up here on the 24th. So get ready for that. And also for Max 24, Ukraine and U.S. will also meet on March 24th, but separately from Russia, Zelensky said. Norway is increasing military aid to Ukraine to 8 billion, Norwegian Prime Minister said. Okay, so today, Volodymyr Zelensky is in Norway to meet with the Prime Minister, so that's a very big update. 8 billion this year going to be going to Ukraine from Norway, so that's very big news. And also, reportedly, Ukraine is going to meet with the U.S. also in on March 24th in Riyadh. Okay, so we're going to have the U.S. over there, Ukraine and Russia. It's just they'll be meeting separately with the U.S. I don't think Ukraine and Russia will be meeting, face to face to discuss this ceasefire. Okay. So now moving on to military news UA, Macron is preparing for conflict with Trump over his desire to help Ukraine, according to Bloomberg. As the U.S. president raises concerns among allies with his geopolitical statements, the French leader is back in the spotlight. Macron unites partners ready to support Kyiv. Okay, so we know Macron is really trying to take the lead here with Europe, trying to gather up as much support from European partners, also for this whole peacekeeping contingent supposed to be going to Ukraine in the event that we get a ceasefire. But looks like Macron is preparing for some sort of conflict with Trump, and I'm thinking maybe we're going to get some major announcements coming out from him very soon that probably Trump is not going to be very happy with. So let me know what you guys think that we might be hearing from Emmanuel Macron, the French president, very soon. Also from next to Zelensky on Trump's possible visit to Ukraine, it's important that he wants it himself. During an online briefing, the president of Ukraine stated that he is always ready to invite Trump to Ukraine. We are open and I always invite him to Ukraine if there is an opportunity, but for me, it's important that he is able to come and that he genuinely wants to, Zelensky concluded. So it looks like maybe Donald Trump, the U.S. president, could be possibly invited to go to Ukraine. We haven't seen Trump visit Ukraine yet, but maybe he could be invited here soon, and we could potentially be reporting on that at some time in the near future that Trump is going to be heading to Ukraine to meet with Zelensky. Now from Max 24, all nuclear power plants are the property of the Ukrainian people. If the Americans intend to take them from the Russians and modernize them, this can be discussed, but there is no question of transferring them to other ownership. Okay, this is in response to a video I put out yesterday for you guys where Donald Trump proposed taking over the power plants inside of Ukraine, and basically Ukraine handing ownership over to the U.S. with these power plants. And it looks like Zelensky's basically saying, no way, we're not going to be doing any kind of deal like that, giving these over to the U.S., because some people are even saying that this could prevent Ukraine from ever acquiring nuclear weapons if the U.S. took control of their nuclear power plants in Ukraine. And also, maybe, who knows, maybe the U.S. might try to hand them over to Russia at some point. That's what some people are stating as well. So lots of concerns behind that. Looks like Zelensky is not open to that proposal at all, at least not right now. Now from Bliskovka, a drone similar to the Russian Shahed was discovered in Kazakhstan. The drone was found in the Toskalinsky, if I'm saying that right, district of the West Kazakhstan region, which borders Russia. It fell in a remote area far from populated areas and remained intact. Police and special services are investigating. Local media publish photos showing characteristic markings similar to those used by the Russians. So possible maybe here that this is a Russian drone that was used, but they're saying it's similar to a Shahed, but not necessarily a Shahed. I mean, it looks like a Shahed to me for the most part, but we can't see the full thing. But yeah, we know that Ukraine allegedly may have some drones that look similar to a Shahed drone also. So I'm not sure if maybe it came from Ukraine. I mean, Kazakhstan is to the east over there from Ukraine. It's not anywhere close to Ukraine. So maybe it was Ukraine, or maybe this is a Russian drone that somehow veered off course and crash landed in Kazakhstan. So that's a new picture coming out today. Now for military news UA, Lithuania is preparing for a possible Russian attack on NATO countries in 4 to 5 years. If sanctions are lifted, it will happen earlier, according to Lithuanian President Nausėda. Now, I'm not going to show you guys this video because unfortunately the audio is just so low. Even when I have it cranked up all the way, it's really hard to hear what he's saying anyway. But basically, that's what he was telling some reporters today, is that Lithuania is preparing for an attack on NATO in 4 to 5 years. That the president believes that in 4 to 5 years, or maybe sooner if sanctions are lifted, that Russia may attack NATO. We've been hearing about this for a long time, that maybe sometime by 2028, maybe by 2030 at the latest, we could see Russia attacking NATO. So more talk on that from leaders in Europe, that Russia's preparing to attack NATO sometime soon. Now, military news UA reports additional F-16s arrived in Ukraine. The Russians lied that they shot down an F-16 in the Sumy region. This is not true, but several new F-16s have arrived in Ukraine. Okay, so very big news today. F-16s arriving in Ukraine once again. Not sure how many have arrived. We probably won't hear, but maybe another handful of them have touched down in Ukraine just recently. But yeah, there was also a report coming out yesterday afternoon that the Russians were stating they supposedly shot down an F-16. I think it was over the Sumy region, and we did have a video that I showed you guys recently of an F-16 flying in that area. So looks like Zelensky's saying that the Russians are lying about that there actually wasn't an F-16 shot down. And from this day, I still believe the Russians have never shot down an F-16. We did have one that crashed at one point, like at the very start when Ukraine just started to get F-16s. But as far as we know, no F-16s have ever been shot down by Russian forces, okay? So very big update there today regarding F-16s. Now from Max 24, a major failure has been recorded in the Russian segment of the internet, okay? So looks like many websites once again going down in Russia. And I'm wondering why this is. It happens from time to time, maybe like once every 3 months. We hear of like either a major attack on their internet. I don't know what's going on over here, but lots of websites were going down again in Russia today, and many people having issues accessing multiple websites. You can see a lot of big ones here, like YouTube being one of them, Twitch, and like lots of other Russian websites just down today, okay? So now moving on to another update from Vicegrad24. Breaking, Scholz announces that Germany will allocate 10 billion euros, in military aid to Ukraine this year, okay? So huge support coming from Germany, okay? 10 billion euros. That's a lot of money and support for Ukraine, and Scholz announced that just today. Now from Bliskovka, Air Defense Forces of Ukraine destroyed 75 out of 171 Russian UAVs. 63 Russian imitator UAVs were lost locally without negative consequences. So here's our daily update with the amount of drones going into Ukraine last night. So 171 in total, 75 being shot down, and 63 probably being brought down by electronic warfare. So again, still massive attack on Ukraine last night. 171 drones coming from Russia. Now our final update of the day from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of March 20th, according to the Armed Forces of Ukraine. So here we go, guys. Final update. Russia's losses as of March 20th, 1,400 troops, 38 AFVs, 91 vehicles and fuel tanks, 13 tanks, 43 artillery systems, 179 UAVs, 2 MLRS, 3 anti-aircraft warfare systems. Okay, so lots being destroyed today over the last 24 hours, and a little bit higher troop number than what we usually see. And 13 tanks, 43 artillery systems, about average that we've been seeing as well. Right around 10 tanks or so, I'd say, averagely being destroyed on the Russian side over the last 24 hours, okay? So very big news coming out from Russia today and Ukraine. And I'm curious to see what's going to come from this massive explosion that we saw over here at Engels. And maybe we'll get some details as to whether some of these strategic bombers were hit. And this is very big if they were, because Russia can only produce so many of those. That's also why they station them so far away from the border of Ukraine. But Ukraine can still reach this airfield, and this airfield is used a lot to launch massive missile attacks onto Ukraine. So we'll wait for more information, see if we get some info on whether these strategic bombers were hit. So let me know what you guys think about all these details today in this video. But that's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you with that. Hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.